You're listening to the Seven Figure Leap podcast. We're here to leverage rich relationships and smart strategies to take your business to the next level. Here's your host, Dustin Rieckman.
You sort of alluded to this. Help me define workshop. And realizing our audience is primarily entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, agency owners. I think some of us think of, is that in person, online? Is it 2 people? Is it 100 people? Like you define it pretty loosely, but at the same time, very intentionally. So what's a workshop, Jake?
Yeah. So the way that I define a workshop is when you're trying to use a intentional structure to take someone from point A to point B. And I actually recently came across this analogy. I love my analogies, and I'm going to use it again here. To me, it's kind of like the Americanized Mexican food that you see, where the ingredients are more or less kind of all the same. It's just a different packaging, right? And so for me, workshops, like you mentioned at the top, group coaching programs, that's actually kind of what I originally pivoted to, but I've recently kind of widened the aperture just a little bit because it represented more what I was actually being like helping people with. But so group coaching program, which is a series of workshops, a 90-minute, almost like a webinar, but I have like a thing about webinars. Please don't do webinars, is my personal opinion. I'm being a little facetious. There are a good place for webinars, but help people do things. And so do a workshop instead. So that's a workshop. In-person retreat could be a workshop. You should be doing some of these exercises to help people think deeply about their deeper purpose in their meeting and where they want to go in their business or whatever. So all those things are workshops in my mind. And they all have the same ingredients. So the process I follow applies to all of them with maybe some very minor nuances.
Okay. And I think if we're going to get into the framework and the mechanics of how to do this well, of course, but just sort of setting the stage for what is and isn't a workshop. It sounds like one of the big differentiators here is they're outcome based. Like we're driving towards a result, whereas like a quote unquote webinar that's all fluffy and pie in the sky and actually doesn't drive any result would not qualify as a workshop. A webinar done well that's driving people to an outcome could be a workshop. But is that one of the big differentiators then?
For me, the difference, just to get on my soapbox for a minute, thanks for teeing it up. I love a soapbox for webinars, is originally came from the word seminar on the web. And a seminar is talking at people. I'm a big fan of get people to do as fast as possible because that's the best way to actually help them transform, to take the next step, to learn. The best learning, I mean, how many books have you read and never done anything with? And so it's almost like, sure, maybe there's some like residue in my brain about this thing I read about, but if you're not actually applying what you're learning, you're getting very little value. So that's why I'm really big on get people to do something. So maybe you actually help me unlock the better answer, which is workshops actually take people through doing something to get to point B from point A. And I'll also highlight the thing that you mentioned with outcome based. So the 3 main ingredients I use to like high level ingredients to design a workshop, a world-class workshop, are 2 types of outcomes and an identity. And so the outcomes are for you, like if you were my client, Dustin, I would be asking you, what do you want this workshop to do for your business? And then what do your clients want it to do for them and their business or their whatever, right? In your case, it'd be business. Those 2 things are usually aligned, but they may seem misaligned, on the face of it. You might be trying to scale from one-on-one to many or few or however you want to phrase it. And so you're thinking, I need to reduce my time, but that may be in conflict a little bit with delivering an awesome experience. So it just holds those 2 things in tension and also helps me helping you design a great experience. That third thing, which is identity, is like the feeling. It's kind of this like human X factor, if you will, of like, what does my program or my workshop feel like? And essentially it boils down to 3 adjectives. So maybe it's guided, it's fun, and it's inspirational or something like that, right? And then all 3 of these things combined act as filters so that you can use or I can use to design a great workshop.
Okay. That's super useful. Like the intent was really to define workshop, but we're already getting into what makes it an effective workshop and what are the considerations. So we're going to spend almost the rest of our time picking your brain and getting your framework so that people can go create a world-class workshop. Before we do that, I don't want to lose sight of your own business. One of the things I think I like, and therefore I'm assuming the audience likes, is they like to kind of have a peek inside what other people are doing in their businesses. So tell us a little bit now about your offers and who you like to work with, because there's a lot of ways to do design thinking and apply it to workshops. So, is there certain types of clients you like to work with and certain formats that you personally prefer?
Yeah, this is perfect timing. So I mentioned I recently did like that very mild pivot to workshops over group coaching programs, and it brought to mind all these existential questions. So this is a little bit in flux as of this moment, but my ideal client is typically someone who's an established expert who already has one-on-one clients and already has a business, and they want to either start a new offer of their own through some kind of workshop, whether it's a new, we'll call it lead magnet, if you will, or an attract offer like Hormozy would talk about, or maybe a group coaching program or something new, or they have something that's not working and they're considering abandoning it or they're frustrated about it. And I can help them diagnose what's going on and help them decide, is this actually not working for your business, or is it something fundamental to like the way you're doing the workshop that could improve that outcome that you want for your business, which is probably what you're frustrated about, if we can find a better way to do that. So that's what I help people do. I'll save the framework, the 10, 50, 99. I'll dangle that here. But I work kind of in those stages, which I'll explain. But the center line that I try to help people with is what I call that 50%, which is a delivery guide. And I don't like this phrase, but a lot of people use it. It's like the run of show. It's like, here's exactly what you're going to be doing. Here's how you're going to say the important things that need to be said in a certain way. It's not a script, but it's like, here's the things, here's the timing, here's the exercises, here's why. And it's like the plan. You still at that level need to build your slides and other stuff. I don't always do that. I can. And I don't want to just stop at ideally the like the basics. I like to get in there with you and actually design the experience from start to finish so you know how to do a great job.
Okay. Awesome. So very much a done with you service with some done for you components, and you're deep diving with this expert based on some of the stuff you've already started to share to make it very custom to what what they want, what their client wants, what they want it to feel like. And so each of these would be a unique workshop at the end of the day. And you like to be their partner in delivering that, to designing and delivering that in the best case scenario. I captured that pretty good.
You did. Actually, that's perfect. And it makes me think of this concept that I've been writing about a little bit, which is like, don't just use someone's framework, or like a template, maybe is a better word for it. I can't just give you, Dustin, here's a podcast. Well, maybe if it's a podcast guesting, et cetera, template, maybe that would work because that's pretty specific. I don't think that exists. But maybe it's like an accelerator template. I can't just give you an accelerator template and then you just plug in your stuff. It's not that simple. Maybe that gets you 50% of the way there or something like that. But that's not going to get you to world class. You need and that's where design thinking I really love, because it's these ingredients, these Americanized Mexican food ingredients, if you will. But it's the combination and the specific way you actually apply them that makes that, for lack of a better word, that magic that is like a really, truly world-class experience.
Yeah, really makes it exceptional, impactful, memorable, all those things, which would probably be in my 3 adjectives if I was trying to design an experience like this.
Yes.
All right. Well, I think now would actually be a perfect time to dive into the framework. So I know it's 10, 50, 99 design framework. Pick that up wherever you want and either guide us through the framework and we can dive into sort of application of it or where people mess it up. But yeah, like educate us on this framework and why we should be looking at these world-class workshops through this lens and through this process that you've designed.
Perfect. Yeah. So let me get on another soapbox. Do not build your whole program before you sell it. Please don't. And this is where 10, 50, 99 comes in. So all you need to sell a program, a workshop, a retreat, or whatever is that 10% level. 10, 50, 99 roughly corresponds to percentage done. And this is all relative. You can like zoom in and then there's a 1059, or you can zoom out and there's a big 105099. But I'll put a little bit of structure on it for you. So let's just use a group coaching program or an accelerated program as an example. A 10% plan for a group coaching program. The 10% is the promise. So like, what are you actually promising people the transformation will be? And this is frankly really the only thing you actually need to sell, like to actually convince someone to buy it, because that's actually what they're buying. They're buying the promise of transformation. They're not buying a program. They're buying the thing that the program gives them. And so you need to be clear on that. And also really helps to have some of the basic structure mapped out. So you as the person delivering it have confidence that, oh, this actually makes sense and it's not just completely made up. And so what that would be for a group program is like, here's my 8 sessions. I know I'm going to do 90 minutes a week. And then here's the topics for each week. And that's really it. That's really all you need at the 10% level. Now, there's some other things we could kind of define, but those are like the two big ones. And then obviously how much you're charging and other things like that. But from a program design perspective, that's the 10%. And that's enough to know, okay, this feels reasonable. I can see it coming together. I know I can adapt. And by the way, here's another soapbox. You don't need to tell anybody this anyway. I never share like, here's each week. Maybe if it's an established program and you really want to, but people don't care. At the end of the day, they don't care. They need to know when they show up and what you're giving them at the end of the program, which can be more than one promise. Maybe there's a few sub promises and there are sub outcomes that you're giving them. That's all they really need to know. And that's the 10%.
Okay. So 10%, we are ready to sell seats to the workshop. And again, workshop could mean a full group coaching program. It could be a one-off event. It could be an in-person experience. But you can sell tickets to this thing at the 10%. And it sounds like you think you should. Like basically a pre-sell where you've got enough of the structure to have a clear promise, to have a structure that people can commit to. That's 10%.